The morning sun reflected off the tall glass walls of Crown National Bank, flooding the marble lobby with golden light. The faint scent of polish mixed with the aroma of coffee and perfume from the busy customers waiting in line. At the far end of the room, Samir Malik, the janitor, quietly moved his mop in slow circles, wiping away footprints near the entrance. He wore an old gray uniform and sneakers that had seen better days. His calloused hands worked methodically, but his mind was far away, thinking about his daughter, Maya. Maya was 12 and born mute. She could hear perfectly, but her voice had never come. Doctors said surgery might help someday, but for now, Samir could only afford therapy once a month. He didn't complain. He worked quietly, humbly, and kept his heart kind even when the world wasn't. Samir, the bank manager, Mr. Rauf, barked from behind his glass office. "Make sure the lobby's spotless. We have important clients coming today. I don't want them slipping on your mop water." "Yes, sir," Samir said softly, lowering his eyes. He never argued. By 10 a.m., the bank was full. The sound of keyboards clicking, coins clinking, and customers murmuring filled the air. And then, as the doors opened again, silence followed. A young girl, no older than 11, stepped inside. Her brown hair was tied neatly in a braid. Her clothes were simple but neat. A white blouse, a faded denim skirt, and shoes slightly too big for her. She held a folder tightly to her chest, glancing around with uncertain eyes. Samir noticed her immediately. There was something about the way she stood, still and careful, as if afraid of making noise. She walked up to the counter where Karina, a sharp-tongued teller, sat tapping her acrylic nails on the desk. "Next," Karina called without looking up. The girl stepped forward and placed the folder in front of her. She didn't speak. Instead, she pulled out a small card that read, in careful handwriting. "Greater than, I cannot speak. I need to access my guardian's account. Please help." Karina raised a brow. "You can't speak. Then how am I supposed to help you? This isn't a charity, sweetheart." The girl frowned and opened the folder, pointing to official-looking documents. But Karina snorted and waved a hand dismissively. "I don't have time for games. You can't even tell me your account number properly. Go get your parents." The girl hesitated, shaking her head and trying to write something else. Customers nearby began whispering, "Poor thing. Maybe she's lost. Or maybe it's a scam." Karina rolled her eyes. "Security," she called out. "Someone come take this kid out before she causes a scene." That's when Samir straightened up from across the room. He had seen enough. He left his mop by the wall and walked over, his heart tightening at the sight of the trembling girl clutching her folder. "Excuse me," he said firmly. "She's just a kid. There's no need to talk to her like that." Karina's expression soured. "Excuse me, but I'm handling this, janitor. Please mind your own business." Samir's jaw tightened. "She's asking for help politely. You could at least check the papers before shouting for security." The girl looked up at him, her eyes wide with gratitude. Her hands shook as she wrote something on a small notepad she carried and showed it to him. "Greater than, thank you. People don't usually listen." Samir smiled gently. "That's okay. I have a daughter too. She can't speak either." Karina snorted. "Oh, how sweet. Two of a kind. Now, if you're done playing hero, all." Before she could finish, Mr. Rauf stormed out of his office, his expression stormy. "What's going on here? Why are customers complaining about noise?" Karina quickly pointed at the girl. "This child is making trouble, sir. She claims she wants to access a bank account. Ridiculous." Rauf's gaze turned to Samir. "And you, why are you interfering? You're a janitor, not a customer service representative." Samir stood tall. "With respect, sir, I only stepped in because she was being treated unfairly." "You should at least check her documents." Rauf sneered. "You think you can tell me how to run my bank? Do your job and leave the banking to people who belong here." A few customers gasped quietly. The little girl's face reddened. She looked down, clutching her folder as if it could hide her. That's when a calm, commanding voice echoed through the lobby. "I'd like to hear what the janitor has to say." The crowd turned. A tall man in a tailored gray suit walked in, surrounded by two security officers. His polished shoes clicked against the marble. The staff froze instantly. "Mr. Ferris, a deal," Rauf stammered. "Sir, I didn't know you were visiting today. Ferris didn't respond. His sharp eyes moved from the janitor to the frightened girl. Is that your file? He asked her gently. She nodded and handed it over. He flipped through the pages, scanning each document carefully. With every line he read, his expression changed, curiosity to shock, then realization. After a long silence, he looked up and said coldly, "Do you have any idea who this child is?" Karina and Raouf exchanged confused glances. "And no, sir," Karina stammered. Ferris placed the folder on the counter and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is Ayla Mirza, the only daughter of the late business tycoon Imran Mirza. The Mirza family's assets are under our bank's guardianship. She's here legally, under our protection." The color drained from Karina's face. Raouf's mouth fell open. "And you," Ferris added sharply, "humiliated her in front of customers. You almost called security on a grieving child." The hall went dead silent. Ayla didn't look at them. She turned toward Samir instead, eyes glassy with tears. Slowly, she lifted her notepad again and scribbled, "Greater than, you believed me when no one else did." Samir smiled faintly. "Anyone should have." Ferris looked between them thoughtfully. "Mr. Samir, is it? I saw everything. Would you step into my office, please? There's something we need to discuss." Raouf looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. Karina avoided Samir's gaze completely. As the crowd whispered, the janitor picked up his mop, tucked it under his arm, and followed the regional director through the glass doors. Behind him, Ayla walked quietly, small steps, but with her head held a little higher. And as the door closed, the staff could still hear Mr. Ferris's calm voice say, "Sometimes, dignity wears a uniform others ignore." Inside the glass-walled office of Mr. Ferris Adil, the tension in the air felt heavy, yet calm. Outside, the whispers of stunned employees rippled through the bank, but here, only 3 people remained. Ferris, Ayla, and Samir, the janitor who had just changed the day's story without realizing it. Samir stood uncertainly near the door, gripping the handle of his mop as if it were a shield. He wasn't used to sitting in offices like this, especially one that smelled of polished wood and expensive cologne. Ayla sat quietly on a leather chair, her hands folded neatly in her lap, eyes flickering between Samir and Ferris. Ferris gestured to a seat. "Please, Mr. Samir, sit down." Samir hesitated. I can stand, sir." Ferris smiled faintly. "You defended someone who couldn't defend herself. That gives you every right to sit." Slowly, Samir sat, still feeling out of place among the elegant decor, paintings, gold frames, a massive desk. His old uniform looked dull under the bright lights, but he sat tall. Ferris opened the folder again and looked at Ayla. "Your parents, Imran and Sarah Mirza, I worked with them for years," he said softly. "They trusted this bank to handle their estate. And today, we failed you." Ayla's eyes softened. She wrote something on her notepad and slid it across the table. Ferris read it silently. "Greater than, it's not everyone. Just some people forget kindness." Ferris nodded slowly. "Yes, and some people remind us what kindness looks like." He turned his gaze to Samir. "Like him." Samir shifted awkwardly. "Sir, I didn't do anything special. I just couldn't stand seeing her treated that way." Ferris leaned back in his chair, studying him carefully. "You're a janitor, but you speak like a leader." Samir gave a nervous chuckle. "I'm just a father trying to teach his daughter right from wrong." At that, Ayla's attention sharpened. She tilted her head slightly, curious. Ferris smiled knowingly. "You have a daughter, don't you? Maya Malik, 12 years old, attends city school for special needs." Samir blinked, surprised. "Yes, how do you know?" "I looked through your file while you were speaking. You've been with us for 6 years. Never late, never absent. Even worked extra shifts without pay when we were short-staffed." Ferris closed the folder gently. "That's rare." Samir didn't know what to say. "Sir, I need this job. For her." Ayla reached for her notepad again and scribbled quickly, her small hand moving with purpose. She turned it toward Samir. "Greater than, is your daughter like me?" Samir nodded with a gentle smile. "Yes, sweetheart. Maya can't speak either. But she's strong. Stronger than I'll ever be." Ayla smiled faintly, then wrote another note. "Greater than, then she must be very kind. Like her father." The words hit Samir like sunlight after a storm. For a moment, he couldn't speak. His throat tightened as he looked at the little girl, this quiet heiress with eyes full of understanding far beyond her years. Ferris broke the silence. Mr. Samir, I'm not one for speeches, but you've shown something rare today. Character. Compassion. Two things money can't buy. He stood, walked to the window, and continued. Ayla's parents started a charitable trust before they passed, one focused on education for children with disabilities. It's called the Mirza Hope Foundation. Unfortunately, it's been stagnant since their deaths. I've been searching for someone to revive it. Someone honest, patient, and kind. He turned, eyes landing on Samir. I think that person is you. Samir's mouth fell open. Me, sir. I'm not qualified. I'm just a janitor. Ferris smiled. You're not. Just. Anything, Mr. Samir. You stood up for someone when it cost you nothing but could have cost you everything. That's leadership. The job would come with full training, a respectable salary, and benefits for your daughter's therapy. Samir blinked rapidly, his heart pounding. You mean, you'd really give me that chance? Ferris nodded. I would, and so would Ayla, if she agrees. Ayla looked up at him, then at Samir. Her lips curved into a small smile as she lifted her notepad and wrote. Greater than, if he helps other children like me, I know my parents would be happy. Ferris read it aloud, and the words hung in the air like a blessing. Samir couldn't hold back the tears this time. He wiped his eyes quickly, embarrassed, but Ferris only smiled. Then it's settled, Ferris said gently. From today, you're no longer the janitor. You're the new community outreach coordinator for the Mirza Hope Foundation. Samir stood, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say, sir. Thank you. Thank you both. Ayla reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant shaped like a dove. She placed it in his palm and folded his fingers around it. Her writing followed soon after. Greater than, my mother said people who protect others are angels in disguise. You reminded me of her. Samir's heart trembled. He looked down at the charm, the silver gleaming softly in his rough, work-worn hand. Your mother must have been a wonderful woman, he said quietly. Ayla nodded, tears in her eyes. Ferris smiled warmly. Ayla, would you like to meet Maya sometime? She nodded eagerly. She wrote quickly on her notepad. Greater than, yes, maybe we can talk without words. 2 weeks later, life had changed completely. The janitor's uniform was gone. In its place, Samir now wore a crisp blue shirt and tie, his ID badge reading, Community Outreach Coordinator. His new office was small but bright, filled with posters of children smiling, paintings made by kids in therapy sessions, and a photo of Maya on his desk. Maya, who used to wait alone while her father worked late, now spent afternoons at the foundation, learning art therapy with other children, including her new friend, Ayla Mirza. The two girls were inseparable. They drew pictures together, played charades, and communicated through their own version of sign language and laughter. For the first time, Maya's laughter filled their little apartment. For the first time, Samir didn't worry about bills every night. And for the first time, Ayla smiled without sadness behind her eyes. One evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Samir stood at the window of his small office, looking out. Ayla and Maya were sitting on the lawn, sketching doves in the fading light. Ferris entered quietly and stood beside him. You've done well, Samir. The foundation has already begun helping dozens of children. Samir smiled humbly. It's not me, sir. It's these girls. They remind me what strength looks like. Ferris chuckled. Maybe, but they needed someone to believe in them. You did that. Outside, Ayla waved at them. Samir waved back. She lifted her notepad and turned it toward him from afar. He squinted to read it. The words were simple but powerful. Greater than, some angels don't fly. They sweep floors and change lives. Samir's chest tightened as he whispered, half to himself, half to the wind. Maybe not all angels have wings, some just carry mops. Ferris smiled. And hearts too big for the world to ignore. The city lights flickered on, glowing softly against the dusk. Inside that office, surrounded by warmth and hope, Samir realized something profound. Sometimes, you don't need a voice to be heard. Sometimes, a single act of kindness can echo louder than words. Dash dash dash. Glowing star. End of story. Glowing star. Themes: humanity beyond class or wealth. The power of kindness and courage. The voice of the voiceless. How compassion changes destinies.